Today for the E36, we have a couple new parts to install, but before we get to that, whenever I'm turning, I think it's like a right-hand turn where more of the weight is going on the left side, it gets crazy shaky, which is not very confidence inspiring. So I've got this new steering rack, which I think is like a 2.8 turn to lock, which is quite a bit shorter than the stock 318 steering rack. We got the rack, I got new lines. I'm missing one line. I might just see if I can reuse it, but I don't know where it went. But yeah, I also have a ton of power steering leaks that I need to fix, because like I can smell it like once it gets onto the exhaust. Just doesn't smell very good. So let's take this bumper off and then jack up the front end of the car. So now that the car is fully jacked up, we can see that there's already a power steering leak or puddle when I just parked here for a couple days. And you can see it's wet here, it's wet coming off the rack, it's wet on the subframe. It's just, there's a lot of power steering liquids going around. Well, I guess I might have found the sound on the left side, which this is a brand new wheel bearing, so I don't know why it's doing that, but I'll show you the sound that it's making. Alright, so it makes like a normal, that sounds pretty normal, but if you shake it up like this, sounds like it's a wheel bearing. Unfortunately. No, that looks like it's coming from the coilover. So when I'm shaking the wheel back, the splines in here, they're like moving back and forth in this because this collar is loose. Let's see if you guys can see that. So let's try to get that tightened up and then we'll see if it still moves like that. Alright, well I just tightened that collar. It's still, I don't know, it's not as bad, but it's better, so I don't know. We'll just leave it like that. But now let's just disconnect these tie rods and then disconnect the steering rack. Alright, so let's loosen up this lock nut and just back it off just a little bit. Just kind of until it's finger loose. And then we'll be able to take this inner out. Alright, there is wheel number 2. So the 2 bolts that hold the rack in itself, those are out. Now we gotta disconnect the steering linkage, whatever it's called, up there. Last time I did this I had trouble because it was just like seized. But we're gonna try it again and see what we can do. Alright, so you can kind of see up there, we got the screwdriver up there in the linkage, spreading the splines apart, and now it's pretty loose. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that is loose. So now let's disconnect all these lines and pull this rack out. Alright, let's pull this line off and see if anything leaks out. Oh, yeah. Ooh. Geez, that is very gross color. Let's just let that leak out for a little bit. Alright, now this line is disconnected. The line in the back is disconnected as well, so I think we should be able to take it out. But I don't know, I've never taken it off the steering rack, so I guess we'll see. Almost. Alright, now we just gotta take this linkage out, or the top portion, I guess, then we can put the new stuff in. So now with the old rack out, and here is the new rack. I had to buy this line separately, but I'm just making sure it fits up how it should, and it looks pretty good. Yeah, it's very clean. And it has these new inner tie rods, which should be really nice because these are kind of dead. I can move them under my own weight, but if I try to move this one, then I end up picking up the whole rack. But we also have this line that'll be going on. I gotta figure out which direction that goes on, but we'll do that once we actually get it in the car. But I'm gonna put this line on, torque it down, and then just go from there. So now for this line, we're gonna take the bigger bolt from the old rack, put that through with one crush washer underneath, and then we'll need one more crush washer just underneath the actual bolt of it, and then we gotta try to get this to line up properly. Alright, so I guess that's kind of what I get for buying cheap lines, because this thing was a struggle to get lined up. Like, first it was getting this thing to fit properly, and then that nut to fit properly, and then there isn't even a spot to screw it in on this side, so I just put in a hose clamp. I think it looks pretty good. I'm gonna take this cap off, take this off, and then we still gotta get the steering thing out of there. Let's get that out. Actually, let's just leave that in there until we're actually ready to put this thing in the car. Alright, well, now that the rack is in, we can tighten these bolts down and then connect the hoses and the tie rods. So now that that is all tightened in there, we can put this line up. I gotta figure out which direction it goes. I think I finally got this pressure line to line up properly. So now we're just gonna do the same stack up where we got a bolt with the washer, then the banjo part goes in between there, and then another washer. Let's clean off that surface a little bit. Alright, well, we have all of the new lines reconnected. The steering rack is all connected and stuff like that. So now let's just fill up the reservoir and then get the car started. I'm gonna have to find more power steering fluid. Found some ATF fluid, which I guess is actually recommended for these cars. So let's use some of this. Alright, so just making sure things are neutral. So this part is always tricky, kind of just trying to get the tie rod to line up in order to actually screw it into the outer tie rod. It's kind of annoying, but so now we're going to be aligning the wheels. I'm going to use my gyro line. You kind of just put your phone in there and then you download their app. So let's do front left toe. Line that up like that. and then we'll come to the other side. We are towed out 0.2 degrees, but I think that's all right. If you guys want to check these out, you can use my code E36 Carter at checkout. But yeah, I think that looks pretty good for the tow. But yeah, let's get this thing on the ground. All right, so that is gonna do it for today's video. I think the install went pretty good. If you guys want to check out this Max Speeding Rods steering rack, it's a little bit shorter than stock. It's like 2.8 turn to lock, I think. But yeah, if you guys want to check it out, make sure to use my code E36 Carter at checkout.